Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, you Gumpers.
Hey, hola, bon dia, Graham Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, a live stream and podcast. How are you today? My goodness, what a weekend we had. It began on Friday. Great times. Lots of pictures to show. Lots of people having great fun, I think, all over Portugal this weekend, including Anna Olsen. These lovely pictures straight in. Let me describe them to you for the podcast listeners. Actually, I would describe them if I knew where they were. Anna sends a message to say that she had a fabulous time with a meetup in the Algarve. Let me just see if I can find her now. Yes, inundated this morning. Thank you, everybody, for your lovely pictures. Bon dia, we had a really nice get-together with some Gumpers in Tavira. That's Tavira. And I know some people will be shouting at the screen saying, Carl, that's Tavira. Not Vera, Tavira or Alavera, but Tavira in the Algarve, of course. Look at this beautiful detailed front door there. We do like our doors, don't we, in photographs of doors, perhaps the most photographed doors in any country of all the world here in Portugal. And a lovely picture of a lady making her way across the bridge, slightly blustery perhaps. Is that another lady of 7 skirts? A few layers on there. It is still winter here in Portugal. And some lovely tones on that picture. One of our top photographers, Anna Olsen. You can see her pictures in the Gumper Gallery. I think I'll be adding some of these this morning that we're sharing today. So thank you so much, Anna. That's a great way to get started this morning. How's everyone been? How's your weekend been? Do let us know in the chat. And a banner. I forgot the banner this morning, but you know it's Monday, so it must be Mindful Migration Monday with James Holley. We're adding this morning. We have a special guest in the form of Anna from Belgium, who is a friend here in San Martinho de Porto on the Silver Coast. And she will be talking about her Portuguese Immersion Experience, which is one of our offerings on the Days in the Bay tab over on the website, goodmorningportugal.com, as you can see under my name on the screen there. On the podcast, that'll be goodmorningportugal.com, folks. You lovely podcast listeners, thank you so much. I've had 300,000 downloads of podcasts in my podcasting career, I noticed last week. Thank you to everybody who kind of listens behind the scenes in the dark, late at night, whenever you do. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Those are my roots, radio and podcasting. So it's a real pleasure and honor to know that people have listened to that level. 300,000. And we're getting to, I think, that many. It won't be long before we have that many. It just goes to show the mainstay of my podcasting career has been Good Morning Portugal. And it won't be long until there are 300,000 episodes of this show alone downloaded on the various podcasting platforms around the world. I'm always happy to hear from podcast listeners. Carl at carlmunson.com or Carl at goodmorningportugal.com. Do shout out, because you are the Cinderellas, as I've said, the Cinderellas of the Good Morning Portugal community. So here's a special mwah for you in your ears. Sorry if that was a little bit too intimate this morning. Salvation Air Force is tuned in. There's a new name. Good morning, all. How are you doing? The Salvation Air Force. Nuno is in as well this morning. Capricorn 12. Owen. Anna is here. Let's catch another good week. Hope you managed to see your photographs there. Jean's also in the Algarve. How are you doing, Jean? James, of course, will be joining me at 9 o'clock with Anna at 9:30. And if you want to find out more about what she's doing, go ahead to have a sneak peek at Days in the Bay at the Good Morning Portugal website and see all the lovely speakers who are offering to come to the Bay and do half days or days, teaching you special things, including Anna there, who's going to do her Portuguese immersion experience. Mrs. M doing a bit of astrology. Jim, for example, doing a little bit of personal development. He's a renowned workshop developer, facilitator around the world. He'll come down from Porto to be with us, from Porto to San Martinho de Porto. Bob and Viv in there, all sorts of wonderful people who join us for Days in the Bay, which we're hoping to launch this week. T-Duck, thank you very much as well. Great to see you on Friday. I have a little bit of a slideshow to show you of a wonderful place we found for lunch called Doce Diabo, the Sweet Devil. I think that is referring to their sobremesas, I think, rather than anything else. But who knows these days? Pete's in as well. Pete was in early at 7:36. Feliz dia dos namorados vesperas do usar fato sexy de chimpanzé. I don't know I don't even know if I should translate that. I'll leave that either to your imagination or Google Translate or your favorite translation software. Bon dia, Gumpers from Coach Turner, and welcome to a new week. A little ad to come from Coach Turner. Actually, I don't know if I can do that this morning. I'm actually bulging on the picture and video deck. We might need to leave that till tomorrow, but you know Coach Turner. He's saying hi and welcome to a new week here. We had a couple of grandchildren staying the night who decided, 5:30 in the morning was a good time to get up. They have a grumpy granddad. Was that 5:30 this morning or 5:30 on yesterday morning there? Sorry to hear that. I feel like I got up at 5:30. I think I went to bed near that time. That's why I'm a little bit muito cansado this morning on the show. Bon dia, Gumpers, then from T-Duck and dia de namorados y amanhã, a Valentine's Day special tomorrow. So thank you very much for that, T-Duck. Ugununu dad jokes and deep thought of the day and a bit of Portuguese from you to come. This was did you get that? The visual meme, the first of many today, I suspect, if James has got anything to do with it. Did you see that? I won't figure that out for you just yet, but why is there an egg? And a marine bird, I'll put it like that, so it doesn't give the game away on the screen. Great to make your acquaintance, the Ancient Mariner, over the weekend, who had that as an email signature. I said, what's that? And he explained it to me. And it's one of the most contrived puns I've ever heard. I said, that's terrible. I love it. Thank you very much, the Ancient Mariner, for that. Okay, so let's get into deep thoughts and Ugununus today and a Coach Turner tip of the day. Let's see what's going on with our deep thought. Oh, from the Buddha himself. All that we are is a result of what we have thought. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. That's a terrifying thought, isn't it, sometimes? And Portuguese saying today, thank you for that one. Portuguese saying, quem não quer ser lobo não lhe vista a pele. He who doesn't want to be a wolf shouldn't wear its hide. Interesting. Let me just cough. I really don't know what's wrong with my throat at the moment. I do need to suck on a Dr. Bayard. It's very, very soon. I must get some from the supermarket today or try a different lozenge. Ugununu then this morning. Mrs. M having a lion. No worries here then for an Ugununu this morning. Casa de Penedo, Portuguese for House of the Rock, is an architectural monument located between Celarico de Basta and Fafa in northern Portugal. Let's take a picture or have a look at a picture of this. Isn't that fabulous? So hobbitish and wonderful. And I wonder if they needed planning permission for the chimney stack there. That is an incredible structure, isn't it? It looks like a tank, a hobbit home, a slug, possibly, James, this morning. Here's another angle on it. That's so wonderful. And thank you, T-Duck, for bringing this to our attention. So that then is the Casa de Penedo. It was built from 4 large boulders that serve as the foundation, walls and ceiling of the house. Its construction began in 1972. It looks a lot older than that, doesn't it? It looks like 1792 rather than 1972, and lasted about 2 years until its completion in 1974, just in time for the revolution. The residence, not the coincidence, the residence was initially used by the owners as a holiday destination. Look at those windows. Today, Casa de Penedo is a small museum of relics and photographs from the house's history. That is quite superb. Thank you very much for that, T-Duck there. That would be Casa de Penedo up there in the north of Portugal. It does look quite northern, doesn't it? If it was in the Algarve, it would afford you quite a lot of coolness, wouldn't it, in the heat of the summer there? And isn't it funny to see your home, top right-hand corner, and that Casa de Penedo there? I don't think it is likely to be on the books of your home or any other real estate agent anytime soon. Okay, superb. That's wonderful. Thank you. While we're looking at pictures, then let's have a look at a few more that have come in. This is Bob's. Bob's beautiful picture of the Peneda Gerês. I think, let me just find out for you what that is. But look at that lovely terracing that you'll see time to time here in Portugal. Let me find out. Whilst you're savouring that, let's have a look at what Bob has to say about it. Any other pictures, please send them in to 913-590-303. Somewhere between Arga de Baixo and Cabarção, northwest of Ponte Lima, says Bob. Arga de Cima, actually. Okay, so we looked it up, and it is Arga de Cima up there near Ponte Lima. I think also we have some rallying, a little rallying video, if that made it to the picture deck. Under intense pressure this morning was the picture and video deck. I'm not sure if I managed to squeeze everything in, so I might have to make a bit of room. If we can watch a video now of some rally driving. Oh no, this isn't the rally driving. We'll save the rally driving tomorrow. This is a car gathering, a vintage car gathering. These look very new to me. I'm not doubting you for one moment, John. John there, João de Nord, who was up there this morning. He's also with us in the chat this morning. John, how was it? How was the rally this morning? I will play the video of the car meeting now. Yeah, still got Bob's picture there as well. Look, a lot of action from the north on your screen this morning. Thank you, John, for that. Hola, bon dia. What a lovely weekend. There's the car show he's talking about, João de Nord. A race rally. I'll bring some video of that tomorrow. Mountain exploring, antique rummaging, bifada eating, and coffee imbibing. You should work for the Portuguese Tourist Board, John, with copy like that, with old friends and new. Having a fine time here in Portugal. This is fantastic. In the north of Portugal, there's João de Nord. That's John and Pam having a superb time there. A couple of pictures from Sarah, who's also who has been in Portugal this last week. I don't know if she's gone back to the UK now, but there's a lovely picture of her enjoying herself. That I think is Lisbon, isn't it? A lunchtime meetup there being celebrated, and watch out for that pigeon flying overhead. And then look, I suppose metaphorically, the sunset. Oh, that's got to be Lisbon, isn't it? With the Cristo Rei over there to the left of the picture, and a sunset and a plane in the sky, and of course, iconic bridge in the foreground there. Superb. Thank you for all your pictures, Sarah Davey. It looks like you had a fantastic time here in Portugal. Superb stuff. While we're talking about Sarah, let's have a Munson's Money moment, shall we? Thank you, Antonio F, for sending in pictures, old notes, pictures of old notes that have come in from Antonio, and I will also serialize those over on the website as well. And I've got a couple of picture safaris to share with you from the blog this weekend. That lunch I mentioned in Caldas de Rainha, and a trip to Tomar yesterday. It was lovely to see Tomar. Although looking at my photos, it does look rather grey and miserable with the pictures. Tomar is much more photogenic than I represented it on the Good Morning Portugal Facebook page yesterday. So sorry about that, Tamar. Some nice pictures, but not the great photogenic beauty. And as I described it, one of the jewels of Portugal, of course. But I'll share those with you anyway. What was I going to share with you in the meantime? Oh yes, the Munson's Money moment. I remember now. It's a busy old morning, isn't it, this morning? Yes, do send in any more pictures or videos for sharing for the rest of the week. Where's Bairandi this week? I don't think I've had a video from Bairandi and a cycle ride this weekend just yet. But anyway, we'll see what happens as the show unfolds. James joining us at 9, Anna joining us at 9:30. Where are you, Munson's Money moment, Vingle? You're here somewhere, I know you are. Let me see. There you are. Well, hey, okay. Nice to hear the whistling, isn't it? And a picture of it's one of the things that didn't make. It is. I uploaded so many pictures. We've got something from Bairandi, actually. If not a video, then a fantastic picture that he sent. Inspired by Filomena, who joined us on Friday, of course, talking about the Carretos of Podense. That inspired Andy to go digging around in his picture collection. But Munson's Money Moment this morning, in association, of course, with Spartan FX. Get yourself a free currency account, and they'll look after you really nicely over there at spartanfx.co.uk. Who is that on the note? The 100 escudos note, issued it by the look of it. Is that what happens? It's funny, isn't it, how old notes are signed by the governors and the administrators of the money systems. But who is that? Which Portuguese icon is that, who lived between, does that say 1888 and 1935? Who is that cultural icon of Portugal there on the 100 escudo note there? That has been beautifully photographed by Antonio F. on a lovely marble surface. Was that marble? Certainly a Portuguese surface there, Portuguese ceramic surface. 100 escudos, everybody. I wonder what that will be worth today. No face value, of course, but a collectible value, I suspect. I'll come back to that, and you can tell me who you think that is on that particular note there. Let's go over then, in anticipation of James and Anna this morning, on Mindful Migration Monday. Where's that ticker tape gone? Is it feeling a bit tired this morning, like some of us are, I think, today? Let's have a look at the website and a couple of photo blogs. They're not finished yet, but I'll give you a good sense of some of the photos that were taken on Friday and yesterday in Tomar. Coming up in Tomar, of course, is the Tabuleiros, the Festa de Tabuleiros, which is one of my pictures, actually. A very amusing display in the window of a government office or shop there. There you go. You can see it on your screen now. Festa dos Tabuleiros 2023. I absolutely love that poster and want to get one of those. On the screen now, lady on the left, gentleman on the right in their black, white and red outfits. White and red, very much the color scheme of Tomar. And I noticed in the wonderful skyline of Tomar yesterday, they built some modern buildings, but they finished them in white and red, those Templarios colors there. And this is what's going to be happening in July, the Festa dos Tabuleiros, where you see that item in the middle between the lady and the gentleman there, which is a hat basically made of flowers and bread, which is taller than the lady. She will be wearing that on her head and ably assisted by the guy to her right, who doesn't really do very much except walk through the town with her, while she, in blistering heat, and I'll share this with you as a little bit of a secret. I was with a friend in Tomar yesterday who said, that's a torture. I know it's a tradition, but it's also a torture. The ladies having to wear these hats, these erections on top of their heads of bread and flowers as they walk through the streets in blistering heat in Tomar in July, accompanied by other ladies doing the same thing. It's, of course, I guess, something that you will remember long into your future if you do that as one of the traditions of Tomar. But there you go. That's where all the eyes and thoughts are in Tomar at the moment, towards that festival in July. Superb azulejos I captured yesterday outside on shop fronts in Tomar as we walked around. It was cool, and it was a little bit grey, and the photographs really reflect that. There's a picture of the Nabal River with the Convento de Cristo up on the top of the hill there. I love the graphics, the modern graphics there of the Enigma Hamburgeria and the artisanal cocktail bar and food studio, as well as the ancient azulejos. Look at that beauty there. Farmacia Pinheiro as well in Tomar. And in the main plaza there, where you can, what's it called? Is it Gualdin de Peixe? The legendary fellow, the founder, I suppose, of one iteration of Tomar and leader of the town. His statue is in the middle of the square there with the beautiful calçadas in black and white, and some buildings that are currently empty and in need of renovation, the Café de Praça being one of them. And of course, the very enigmatic Taverna Antica, the medieval bar that looks like, as you go through that door, it is open, but there's just like a little crack in the door, which you imagine will squeak very, very noisily as you open it, and you go into the dimly lit taverna there to have what looks like a time where there'll be chickens and dogs and children running under your feet, and you'll be served great big pots of frothy ale and chew big chicken legs and throw them across the room when you've finished. Please don't do that. But that's the kind of atmosphere I'm thinking that goes on there. That was Tomar yesterday. got to be on your list if you are coming to Portugal and having a look around. Do please go to Tomar. And here is Doce Diabo, the sweet desserts, or sweet devil. I beg your pardon, or the devil's desserts here. And the links are there over on the Gumper blog, and the pictures to go with them as well. So there's a nice entranceway which you'll find, and I'll talk a little bit about some food that we had there on Friday. Really great place to go to. Oh, lots of comments. I will come back to your comments this morning, but just very quickly then at Dulce Diabo. That's the entranceway, which is down one of the lovely alleyways of Caldas de Rainha. Either walk up from the park, the Dom Carlos Park at this end, where you can see on the menu, you could get a sopa, which was a crema de grau, pica de grau, I think, a chickpea soup, rabalo grelhado, salmão grelhado, and bitoques, massadas of peixes or chocos, or even a vegan version of the massada, which is like a pasta-based, a mixture of pasta and vegetables and some chunks of potato and mushroom in there, in a really nice tomatoey sauce. Not seen that before, but it does lend itself obviously to having the addition of fish, a little bit of cuttlefish, or a vegan version. Bifish de vazia, that would be a steak, of course. Lombinhos de porco, the pork loin. I don't know what iscos a portuguesa are. I didn't ask about those, but bacalhau natas and pato a chef, the chef's duck there. And now, not only was duck on the menu, but there were peacocks in the in the forecourt as well of the restaurant. This peacock turned up. Oh, and there's my youngest showing her bum off. There's a little bit of context missing in that picture, which is too difficult to explain right now, but she's a little bit of a wag, a chip off the old block. And these pictures haven't come out brilliantly. They don't show you the drama of the alleyways going up and down to the restaurant. But that I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that on my picture blog. But some fantastic illustrations inside as well. Big girls don't cry, they drink is the unusual bit of therapy talk there. I'll maybe ask James about that. And then you're sat in the restaurant having some fantastic food. The food was great. The desserts were superb as well. But you'd expect that, wouldn't you, at Doce Diabo? And a peacock comes and looks through the window while you're having lunch. There's a good view of the alleyways with a rather distorted but a dramatic perspective on them there. That's walking up from the park end of Caldas as well to a great restaurant, Doce Diabo, which we discovered on Friday. And there's a close-up of the menu there. Reasonably priced, very tasty. And our server, Leah, L-I-A, asked for Leah if you go in there, who was really helpful and friendly and showed us a really good time at Doce Diabo. Caldas, let's get back to your comments, shall we? Thank you for allowing me to share all those wonderful images, yours and mine, this morning on this Monday morning. How's it going? How are you doing? Let's see who else has joined us. Oh, look, Pete's quite talkative this morning, as is Babib. I don't know if I've pronounced that right, but that's a good first start, isn't it? Hola, new arrival to your show, and you're most welcome. Thank you very much. Big burn today. Oh, is that what's going on the Quinta there for you, Pete? Matty's in, I can see. Antonio F., thank you for the pictures of the notes of the escudos, which I will be sharing in a blog as well. Thank you very much for that. And yes, correctly identifying the note you sent to me with Fernando Pessoa on there. So thank you very much. Let me just bring that back onto the screen so you can see exactly what we're talking about. Fernando Pessoa there on the 100 escudo note. Thank you very much for that, Antonio. And I think you describe, we'll come back to that because I think you describe his importance to Portuguese culture as well. Oh, yeah, a great Portuguese poet there. Do look him up. And I think it's quite a good way to add to your learning of the Portuguese language to buy a poetry book of his and do some of your own translation. The car rally was a mix of hot hatchbacks with a smattering of Aston Martins, BMWs, Mercs, all 70s, 80s and 90s era. I thought that looking at the cars on the clip that we showed there, John, they did look very much 80s and 90s. Certainly the colors and pictures of or video of cars there that you might have had yourself, or your old man might have had a car like that. Certainly looked like some of the cars my dad used to drive. But let's go back in the chat stack this morning before we say hello. I just sent pics of Doce Diabo. Sorry, I forgot these earlier. No problem. I'll add those to my blog. Ocean Dweller, fantastic. Good to see you here, Ocean Dweller. Good morning to you. Hola, bon dia from Madeira to all. Marcus is in as well. PT Country Bear, how you doing? With a nice bon dia alegria there. Thank you very much, Marcus. And I feel like I need to go back into the chat here. I certainly do, because we've got a God Squad tip of the day. I am suspicious of so-called research that hasn't been peer-reviewed and is promoted on social media. However, a recent accredited research shows the importance of training as we age. The old adage of use it or lose it applies particularly to strength, but also aspects of fitness. So this week, we're going to be looking at improving stamina, endurance, and resilience. So to begin with, at a basic level, we need to be doing at least 30 minutes of physical activity each day. Ideally, that should make you breathe more heavily and raise your heart rate. And who doesn't like a raised heart rate and a little bit of heavy breathing first thing in the morning? Very good. 30 minutes, though. I could do it loads of times in 30 minutes. Hey, we're just 39 more subscribers away from that all-important 1K. Vamos! Hooah! Thank you very much, James, for that reminder as well. Yeah, 961 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Isn't that fantastic? Thank you very much. But you know what that means? I'll be bothering you for super chats as soon as we've got to 1K. Bon dia, Capricorn Chris 12. How are you? How are you doing, mate? And I think are you still in Portugal? I could see that you were having a rather good time. Not getting out and about so much, but just enjoying yourself in the Algarve, from what I could gather, watching a little bit of the man cave. Good morning, everyone, from Nunu, and hi, James, and hi, Chris, as well. Drinking already, Nunu. And Nunu! Hola, bon dia, meu amigo. My watch is fast. Is that a joke? My watch is fast? How does it smell? Terrible. Owen's here. Hola, bon dia. Un ótimo semana para todos. Owen, love what you've been putting up on social media, mate. Here at your service. And from Mon Carapacho, bon dia de bonita, Mon Carapacho, from Jean this morning. Bon dia alegria from Marcus. And from Madeira, it's a bon dia as well. Only 60,000. What's this? Only 60,000 total episodes of Good Morning Portugal to reach that 300,000 mark. Nice one. Thank you, James, for your work in that department. And Kate's here as well. Good morning to you, Kate. Inspiration for the Hard Rock Cafe. Very good. That Hobbit home we showed in the north of Portugal. Joao F is here. Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Good to see you here, Joao. And thank you for your kind correspondence and funny correspondence on WhatsApp as well. 913-590-303. Of that, to Hard Rock House. Jean says, what kind of inspiration is that? To look at a pile of boulders and think, let's make a house of it. Yeah, needs must, I guess, as well. Just one of those basic things on Maslow's hierarchy, right? Ticking the box of shelter there, and making one's physical self safe there. That pic was Lisboa. I know that spot. That's probably referring to Sarah's picture there. Let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Raquel is here as well this morning in Cascais. Good to see you. Looking forward to having you on the show again soon, Raquel. Fernando Pessoa, she knows. And even Andy knew who that was on the 100 Escudo note there. And quickly then, before we have James join us, I came across a great educational organization that might interest those with school-age kids. Brave Generation Academy. They seem to have hubs all over Portugal. Worth investigating. Yes, they are pretty awesome. And we are looking forward to having their head honcho, their Queijo Grande, on with us at some point. Yeah, it is a very good option, the Brave Generation Academy. I think it's struggling to find itself currently, what's the word? Not audited, but accredited by the Portuguese education system. I did hear that there was some work going on to make sure it ticks all the boxes, but certainly parents and children alike enjoying the experience of the Brave Generation Academy. Abel, good morning, friends. Abel Pinheiro, we saw you. I saw your name, your family's name in Azulejos this very morning, Abel. Let's give him a nice round of applause. But we can't just do that because he's got his own theme tune, and here it is. Shwing.
Bon day, me. Let me try that again. I haven't talked yet this morning, so I'm trying to get the brain and the mouth coordinated.
Go ahead, try
Bon
that
dia,
again.
meu amigo.
Bom dia, amigo. Tudo bem?
Sim, tudo. E
Muito bem.
tu?
Muito bem ou pouco bem?
Muito bem.
Muito bem, very good. Muito bem. What's good about your morning then, Mr. Holley?
Hey, I'm alive. And I'm breathing. And I mean it.
Yes. Isn't that great?
Well, it's easy to find gratitude if you're breathing, right?
It is. But it's very difficult to do it if you're not. That's also
True.
I'm so glad to hear that this morning. Welcome to the show today. I don't know. Should I just stop asking you if you've had a good weekend now?
It's fine. It affords me the opportunity. Again, all these opportunities for gratitude. It affords me the opportunity to be able to respond with every day is a weekend for me. You know, it's like like every day is a school day for me, right?
Yes.
I thought of that recently. It's like a more positive way for me to look at whatever challenges I'm facing, being in this new place, new culture, new bureaucracy, all these things. Every day is a school day. It's an opportunity to learn something new. So,
well, what have you learned recently then?
Let's see. Well, last week we talked a little bit about taxes. So I've been learning a little bit more about the process of obtaining a social security number or determining whether you already have one or not, which kind of funny made me think about. People say, well, do you have a social security number? My answer was, I don't know. Because I said, they threw so many numbers at me the first month I was here. I don't know what they were. It's like, this is your security number, and here's your another number, and here's your phone number. And it's like, what are all these numbers? What do they mean? So I attempted to get online to determine whether I have a social security number. And of course you have to log in, and you can't log in without your social security number. So it's like, okay, that's not going to work. But this fantastic new accountant that I recently agreed to work with actually called Segurança Social in Ericeira and made an appointment for me.
Very good.
How nice is that? It's like, whoa, okay, thank you.
Yes, very good. Some will. Yep. Some will tell you got to go get it yourself, and some people. That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good tip already this morning. So thank you for your hot tip today. So far, and let's just rewind that a little bit. Before we go any further, we've got Anna joining us at 9:30, who's going to be talking about her Portuguese immersion experience. But it looks like we'll be talking about a few of these numbers before then. And these are the three key. This is the Holy Trinity, really, isn't it, James, of numbers here in Portugal? The ones that you were describing as being thrown at you in your first week of life here. The NIF number, the contribuinte, the fiscal number. Is probably the first and foremost, isn't it? Because without that, nothing seems to be possible. And it's the way of
it is a numeric representation of you.
It is,
this number is you in Portugal. Everywhere you go.
Hologram. Yes. And it is the way that the government is able to get its tentacles into your life as well. Good morning, Mrs. M. Yes, I would love a coffee. Thank you so much. A nice frothy, milky one would be fantastic. And a coffee as well. Yes, NIF number. The NIF number is the first. Then the SNS number, which I suspect you've got already. That's also known as the UTENT number, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I'm still confused about what the names of these numbers are.
Well, we'll probably get a translation of these acronyms and abbreviations from our Portuguese friends here, which could be quite useful. But the SNS, the one in the middle, known as the UTENT, which is what you need for the health system, which is easily confused with one you're talking about this morning, which is the NIS number, the Social Security number. I guess that is a Número Identificação Social Security.
Social, yeah.
Yeah, Security Social, Seguridade Social. Why would one need that in Portugal? I don't know yet.
As I understand it, it has to do with essentially very similar in some ways to Social Security in the United States, which is money after you stop working. That's a part of it. That's why you pay into it.
Yeah.
And another piece of it is taxes, which is also connected with that Social Security pension. So I'm guessing it also has, well, I don't know, because you have your S&S number and you have your NEEF number. So maybe it has nothing to do with those. I don't really know all the intricacies of it. The other one is EVA, or what we call VAT, I guess, in English, and I'm still getting my head wrapped around that. So,
well, here's the thing then. What we need to do, we need a kind of lexicon, don't we, or an abbreviation acronym basher, and we'll have a blog and we'll put all of these numbers on and we'll say what they are. It's the least we can do for people. I recorded a video a long time ago, probably 3 or 4 years ago, which I think you can still get online. Which went through the difference in these acronyms, these abbreviations, when I first came across them. So, but keep us abreast of that, won't you, James? I think the Social Security number is the number you need if you're claiming Social Security support, as some people need to do from time to time, but also your payments into the system. If you're self-employed, you need to make your own Social Security payments. And if you're an employer,
so it's connected to taxes.
Yep, it is.
So you have to have both to be able to make it work.
Indeed. So more about that as it unfolds for all of us. It does seem to be quite the issue for people at the moment, taxation and how to start a business and what you need to do when you are starting a business. So thank heavens we've started the Portugal Business Club, which debuts tomorrow night at 9 o'clock in the evening. So we'll talk more about this sort of thing then. What else have you learned since I last saw you, every day being a school day?
Well, I'm finding, because I have watched, I think it was the first two, but anyway, the two most recent Hello Americas, just to get a sense of what it is and you know how it's being presented and what, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I watched the replay on a Sunday. Love you as I do. I'm not going to stay up till 1 a.m. to watch something on my computer.
Yeah,
I didn't do it in the US when I was following Good Morning Portugal. I'm not doing it in Portugal to follow Hello America, but I was curious and did want to see. And what happens is then, of course, I have responses and thoughts about the program itself, things that are said, and, you know, if I was live, like making comments, that kind of thing. So it just folds sort of naturally into a Monday morning. You know, it could almost be James' responses to Hello America so far the last 2 Mondays. But there were a couple of brief points that I thought of after last week, because we were talking about taxes on Monday, and then some of that was on the show you had on Sunday morning. And one of the things that I think we often fail to do when we talk about, the high taxes or the higher taxation in Portugal, is we tend to forget the offset of healthcare costs.
Yes.
That private healthcare is 10% or less of what it is in the United States for private healthcare. Plus you have the Medicare system if you're retired. So you put that against the taxes, Portugal is going to win every time. Every time.
Yeah.
Yes. So, you know, my taxation is looking at going to be maybe 2 or 3% higher than an average in the United States, but healthcare costs are, you know, exponentially less expensive. So there's no contest on that one if you factor that in. The other thing I noticed is that there was some focus on reasons to move or not to move to Portugal, and consideration, or not reasons, but considerations for it. And so much of it, and I understand it, is around the pragmatic, the logistics, you know, all that kind of stuff. But for me, the two biggest things that have influenced my love of being here and my desire to stay, one is just the one was all right, the other was was the culture. And I don't hear a lot about that in terms of the promotion of Portugal, but its people and the culture, the generosity and the inclusion and the friendliness that it just, to me, is this huge cultural embrace. And I don't hear that in the advertising and the marketing so much. It's more about, hey, climate was the other one for me. I didn't realize how important that was. So climate is a factor. It's usually around, cost of living, or, how great or not great the food is, which goes to this most recent episode of Hello America, those kinds of things. So I just wanted to give a shout out to the culture, to the people of Portugal, and this huge welcoming that I have experienced, and this cultural embrace, and personal, Portuguese people I have met who literally embrace me when we see each other. The friendships that are building, to me, is an amazing quality of being in the country that doesn't get talked about a lot. So I wanted to make sure I made a point of that.
Well, we did. We had a 27-point checklist, didn't we, from a guy called Mark? That's what we went through on this most recent Hello America, which was in the early hours of yesterday morning for us, at 1 in the morning.
I saw that.
Portuguese. And yes, it was quite rational. But then it would be, wouldn't it, if it was a 27-point checklist or 27 observations about Portugal? It was more kind of statistical, factual, it felt, than the subtle realms you're talking about. And perhaps
and it was based on his experience.
Yes,
this is how it was for me, and he did say that many times, and I appreciated that.
Yeah, me too.
Because first thing I have to say it. While I'm obviously not a Portuguese expert, there are some things I do know. One was by virtue of a composer who wrote many, many marches in the United States, and he was Portuguese. And I'm assuming his Portuguese name would have been João Filipe Souza, but we just call him John Philip Souza. So that you made reference to Souza 3 or 4 times, and every time I went because it's Souza, not Sue.
Yeah.
And again, that's just an educational moment as I'm learning the language and picking up pieces. There's certain, I look for rules, and it's like OU, as far as I know, is always pronounced O. Matter of fact, it's the only place we make the long O sound in Portuguese is when it's OU. So it's Souza. Anyway, enough of that.
Yes.
Yeah. And I understand the confusion, because if you look at the word soup in English, O-U-P, ooh. And almost every American says John Philip Souza. The instrument, the big tuba you carry when you're walking around, in English is called a sousaphone.
Indeed, yeah.
Not a sousaphone, right? So
it's a Portuguese invention, then, do you think?
I don't know. It could well have been Souza's creation, because carrying around a big old tuba is very difficult in a marching band. So try to figure out a way to be able to hang it on your shoulder or whatever.
Yes.
As far as I know, it plays the same notes. It's just easier for carrying around.
Yes.
And I don't know that much
why,
about it.
Why are you telling us about him? Again, I've forgotten.
Just because of the pronunciation of the name. It's the pronunciation of the name. Souza, not Souza, but in the United States, no one calls him John Philip Souza. It's always Souza. So that confusion is easy to carry over. And it's not a big deal. It's just...
Do you ever watch the Portuguese Kids, James? They are the children of Portuguese parents in America, New Jersey probably, and they do fantastic comedy, which you can see on Facebook quite a lot. And they've got a character called Joey Souza, who's a really good mix of American and Portuguese culture. So a shout out to the Portuguese Kids and their fantastic humor. Do check that out on Facebook. Well, thank you for tuning in, and well, not tuning in, but watching on the replay. Those Hello Americas. It was fascinating, wasn't it? Especially the thing about it. It started with dog poop and ended with toilet paper, didn't it?
Yes.
Point number 1. And point number 27 was about toilet paper, which he didn't think was as good as it is in the United States. Is that may I ask, because I'm a bit indelicate this morning, and ask if that's your experience?
Well, I don't select my own toilet paper, right? So it doesn't matter. It's provided as part of my rental, right? So it's another little benefit. You know, they clean my unit every 2 weeks at no extra charge, and they restock my towels and my toilet paper, whatever.
Wow,
so
what a great deal! Right.
So the toilet paper that they use is a single ply. It's very soft. It's super absorbent, so it's very delicate. It gets wet, it falls apart. You know, that's kind of how it's built. But if we want to get really transparent, I love the bidet, and so I don't need a heavy duty toilet paper. You know, it's like, okay.
Goodness. Well, okay, we've come to expect honesty, openness, and transparency from you, and that is quite a step to go to owning and declaring the transition to bidet culture. And I really don't know. I do not know how far to take this conversation this morning. Suffice to say, hats off to you and trousers down, I guess.
I guess I'll take it one step further. My ass is as clean as it's ever been in my life. So that's about as far as I think we'll go.
I think that's as far as we need to go.
Yes.
Well done. And I think there maybe should be a certificate of when you get to that stage of the transition. Don't you?
I was actually looking forward to it. I was always curious, what's this bidet thing? How's that work? You know, it's like, is this how I do this? Okay. Well, that's kind of interesting. All right. Well, at least I'm clean. All right.
You know, and if the A2 language certificate is part of the Portuguese citizenship, so too should be piloting a bidet, right? So well done. We don't need to see a YouTube video, although I suspect there is of this.
For those of you who may have been looking forward to that, not going to happen.
Right, okay. So let's push for that. Part of the great test of Portuguese citizenship should be the use of the bidet or bidet, depending on how one says it. I don't know how we got into this.
The advantage is then putting it in the waste bin it makes more sense, right? Especially if the sewage system can't handle that much paper, even though it does. This particular paper seems to dissolve in water.
Okay, so there you go. A transition to be made. And one of those things, James is actually here every Monday to talk about mindful migration. We seem to have gone into a different level or an area of conversation this morning. Nothing wrong with that, and I'm sure it'll be fascinating.
It's still mindful. I mean, we're just. To me, mindfulness is about bringing conscious attention to. We just did that with toilet paper and bidets. So
we did. We really got into that. But one of the really
probably more than we needed to.
Absolutely. But the interesting thing there was how the tone of the list that we went through was, is it better or worse than? And what was possibly missed from that, and what we've just got into there, is sometimes a change of expectations and a shift in culture and a change in behavior is required. It's not moving from another country to this one isn't just a matter of deciding where everything is better or worse. The really important and arguably great thing about moving is to make those transitions of what's different, not better or worse.
Absolutely. And it reminds me way back when I was in beauty college and we were asked the question, what's the best hair color product to use? And everyone came up with, L'Oreal or this or that or the other thing. And I'm going, to me, logically, of course, I'm always the older one in all of these things, because I make these changes later in my life. I'm thinking, well, I would imagine it's the one you know how to use. So, I said, for me, it's the one I use. And the instructor in the course said, that's exactly right. Why is that? Because you get a chance to get familiar with it and become expert with that thing that in this case, hair color that you use. And the same thing, people had this ongoing debate that just drives me nuts about, PC or Apple. It's like, it doesn't freaking matter. Really, the one that's the best to use is the one you're familiar with. I mean, I got on a PC and I was totally baffled the first time around. Like, how do you use this thing? Because I've been brought up and trained on Apple my whole, like, it's the only computer I ever used. I personally love them, and I've had a chance to work on both. I'm not going to be an advertisement for one or the other, but I'm not going to engage as which one is better. Because there's arguments on both sides why theirs is better, and people love to get into those. Like, not for me. That's
I think
okay.
Pete
But
will.
yes,
Pete won't be able to resist that unless he's gonna. I thought that said big bum when I first read it. And did you say booty college or beauty college?
beauty.
Okay, fair enough.
Although booty college could be fun.
So what has it? I will come back to that. We've got some great comments and chat, especially about toilet paper, as you might imagine. And Henry, thanks for tuning in, Henry. And what a wonderful coincidence that you were talking about Tamar yesterday. This is just a fantastic comment from John. Not an opinion here, but toilet paper in Portugal is 2 centimeters narrower than in the US.
Okay.
The things you discover. And what a fantastic debut. This is from Salvation, unless this is somebody we already know who's using a new name today. But the Salvation Air Force says toilet paper in Portugal is a total wipeout. Very good. Excellent stuff. Yes. And Bob Wenger agreeing with you. Right on target about the culture being a core aspect of living here. And it is subtle as well. I wanted to say this when you were talking earlier about it, James. It is quite a subtle thing. And perhaps it takes a bit longer to understand that the wonderful, the nuances and the subtlety of it, as compared to something like, is the coffee better or not better? Is the toilet paper better or not better? It's about the immersion. We'll talk more to Anna about this, of course, but you have to be here for a while, don't you, to really love and appreciate the points you were making about the culture here.
Yes, well, in the aspect of mindfulness is if you bring your attention to these things, then you'll notice sooner. But that takes a conscious effort to say, let me pay attention to what my experience is being here. Let me pay attention to what the differences are. Let me pay attention when I'm uncomfortable and why. And let me pay attention when I'm feeling warm and cozy for no apparent reason. What's going on? And it's that awareness, that mindfulness that we bring to us or to it that helps us to understand it better.
Yeah.
And so the idea, one of the thoughts that occurred to me during the program was that no place can be everything for everybody. No place can be everything for everybody, and every place has both upsides and downsides to it. So I think the only valuable feedback from people who are visiting is, as I forget his name, was it John who wrote this article?
Mark Ness.
Oh, Mark. What I appreciate is he said, this was my experience. It still came off as being somewhat judgmental.
Yes.
Like, this didn't meet my experience, so it sucks. It's like, well, okay, you don't need to add that piece. Like, it's even if you say it sucked for me, there's still, as Mrs. M said, there's this sort of implied judgment in that. You can just say, I don't prefer that.
Yeah, that's right.
I enjoyed that. I didn't enjoy that. And you don't have to add that added thing. The unfortunate thing is that we tend to want, we being humans, tend to want the Cliff Notes version or the brief summary of, is it a good place or a bad place for me?
Yeah.
And so we'll read one.
That's right.
Yes.
Tell me.
We'll read one opinion that says, toilet paper sucks in Portugal. Oh, I can't go to Portugal. The toilet paper sucks, or whatever. It's like we make it based on one person's experience, and that it's, to me, not a very good way to make an assessment about where we want to live a life. So just a reminder that we're highly influenced by other people's experiences, and the mindful part is, let's pay attention to that. Pay attention to confirmation bias. Pay attention to, am I making a decision based on this one person's experience? Maybe I should make a point of getting a balanced thing. So here's one person who didn't like it. Let me see if I can find someone who did. Let me ask someone what they loved about it and what they didn't love about it. Those kinds of things are going to help you get a much broader picture.
They are, aren't they? And also, it is this kind of rational view as well, isn't it? Which I particularly struggle with. It's like, what is the viewer? Who's talking here? Is it somebody who kind of is separates themselves from the experience they're having as a viewer and an onlooker? Do I like this? Do I not like this? Or are they opening out? Is the line of themselves and their identity blurred and opening out to the culture they find themselves in? Or are they very much just like peeking through a hole in their consciousness at Portugal with the judgments? And I certainly don't mean to criticize Mark, because I think he did preface his comments with a lot of, this is just what I think, and my girlfriend
And he
agrees
made
with me.
some very good points.
He made some really good points, didn't he? But there is
Yeah.
definitely something, and this is what we will talk about on mindful migration here, is that it's not just about the country, is it? It's about you too, and your experience and what you can learn from it. And that perhaps,
And in truth, everything is.
yes,
Everything is
exactly.
about you, because everything is coming to you through your filters, through your biases, through your perspective, and how you summarize that experience is all going to be based on the fact that you are the only common thing related to everything that you're experiencing. With my clients, I often, especially when I'm doing couples work, I refer to living our life with a GoPro. Like, we all have a video recording of what we experience. Yes. And we can all, both in this case, husband and wife can both have their GoPros going, and they can both talk about the very same experience with a very, very different personal experience of that thing. So, but the argument is always, no, it wasn't that way. It was that way. So ego gets in. I'm right. You're wrong. No, I didn't say that. I said this. And the truth is, nobody has a literal video camera. Because if they did, all those arguments would go away. Let's just play the film. You said that.
Well, it's true. And James, do you recommend that couples start wearing body cams so they can actually justify?
I don't know. It might not be a bad idea if it's a particularly contentious couple who are always arguing about who said what.
It's it will be so interesting. That's a TV show right there, mate. Let's put that idea to Netflix. I like that. I like that. We've got Anna's going to be joining us in just a minute. Let's catch up in the comments here. Ocean Dweller is off Canico today. I think that does sound like a cash and carry, doesn't it? Or a big shop. I think it's a place in Madeira. Pete's with us. Looking forward to getting those trays on our wives' heads. He is, of course, talking about the tabuleiros happening. You see that, I don't, if you were not here earlier on, you'll see in Tomar in July, women will be wearing what is effectively a hat. That's the thing in between the man and the woman there. And she will be wearing that on her head and walking through in the blistering heat of Tomar in July with that. That's what Pete is referring to in that comment there. What a lovely present for Valentine's Day. Trays? No, they're halos, surely. We're liking the Salvation Air Force and their comments this morning. Festival of the Trays, the halos are for us patient men. He's walking a thin line this morning, is Pete. Bom dia, criaturas, e bom segunda from Matty. Hello, mate. So what has everyone got planned for Valentine's Day? Hold on a minute. His bondage restaurant is no longer open. So sunset picnic watching stalks it is. There was a bondage restaurant that's been closed down. Maybe that was probably for the best. I didn't hear about that. Hola, new arrival to your show, Babi. Good morning to you, and so was whatever. You've got a lot of questions about Valentine's Day. We will be having a look tomorrow, and T-Duck has got a few things up his sleeve, which might include a bouquet of roses. There is a karaoke event in VRSA on Thursday. Yes, there is, and I think we've even got a poster for that. There it is, karaoke. What a way to impress a future lover is to sing to them or to put them off forever.
Or not.
Of course. Or not, indeed. Yes, really. What? Yes, there is really we just got the poster to prove it there. Salvation Air Force. After driving to Castelo Branco 3 times in the last week, twice with my girlfriend looking at properties, we will stay home for the rest of her vacation. I wonder what the connection is between driving 3 times to Castelo Branco and then deciding to stay home. Maybe they just need to catch up on their canoodling after all that activity. I don't know. It's none of my business.
Yes.
Sounds good. Did you have any contenders for your quinta out here? Sounds like Matty's getting serious about buying property. That's great in central Portugal. Next step is my lawyer talking to the agent to make sure the current owner gets the confirmation from council. That's a lot of granular detail there, which we probably didn't need to know about, Matty. Use it or lose it. I'm not sure if I ever had it, referring to Coach Turner's advice this morning. Nice one, Salvation Air Force. Good debut this morning. Bon dia. I was talking with a friend about Tamar this weekend. He's off to Sintra in September and is now going to make the journey to see the castle in Tamar. Fantastic. Henry, I knew it was you, Henry. For some reason, I'm commenting from my business page. And what a nice plug that is for your business page, not your business cage, not the bondage restaurant. Coach Turner, what do you think of jump training? I used to be able to jump on and off benches or boulders with ease, says John. Now I must think twice, thrice, or perhaps give it a pass. I wonder if
Or
he
just kind of slide off of it. Slide off that boulder.
There's a boulder. Quick, let's go the other way. Bon dia from Jacqueline Branco. How you doing, Jacqueline? Any thoughts on the utility of a UK global health insurance card post-Brexit free healthcare certificate? I'll address that at the end because we're being awfully rude here. It's 2 minutes past, half past. We haven't got to all the comments about toilet paper. Here's a final one, because we've got to get Anna on the screen. The Real Voyage of Discovery says Marcel Proust, the famous toilet paper manufacturer, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeing new sights, but in looking with new eyes. Are those the instructions when you're using a bidet, perhaps?
I wouldn't recommend trying to use your eyes.
Let's give her a nice big round of applause. Hola, bon dia, Andrea. Hello, Anna.
Hola, bon dia.
Were you thinking to yourself, oh my God, what have I just walked into here? All this time bonding
No, it was really nice. I had fun listening. Yeah,
good.
really
Thank
good. Yeah,
How
happy
are you
to be
today?
here.
Good way.
I'm fine. Everything okay? Yeah, yeah,
Anna,
happy to be here.
James, meet Anna. Anne in Belgium.
James.
Hola, Anna.
And Anna here in Portugal. You're here to talk with us about your Portuguese immersion experience. What a fantastic idea. One of the things that is really impressive about this is you haven't taken any formal Portuguese lessons, and yet you have made yourself quite the Portuguese speaker, from what I can gather. When you and I have, oh, sorry, I'm trying to bring you on twice on the screen here,
Kick
rather
me
than
out.
get rid of you all together.
Yeah.
There is the Portuguese immersion experience there. I'm very impressed when I hear you at the Silver Coast meetup in San Martino de Porto. Your engagement with the locals. You are quite the linguist, but how can it be that you could ease yourself into the culture, especially linguistically, without going for formal language training? This is going to be music to some people's ears. How do you do it?
Yeah. Well, the answer is quite simple, really. I just apply what I teach my students. So I'm a language coach in Belgium, mostly for French speakers that need to speak Dutch, because we've got really three languages, official languages in Belgium. So there's sometimes some difficulty, especially professionally, to be able and to dare to speak the other language, because that is also a very big part of it. And so I just apply what I teach my students, and that's it's just based on a very smart professor, much more smart than I am, Stephen Krashen, if you want to look that up.
Okay.
He's American, and he just dedicated his life to looking into how do people learn multiple languages, and what is the best way. And it's really the basics are really simple. We've all learned language, our own language, our mother tongue, and we've done it in a completely different way than the way that language lessons are offered at schools and other institutions. And that works really well. We didn't have to study for it. We didn't have to learn any vocab lists by heart or study any grammar for it. We just learned it by hearing it. So that's really the basic principle. So what I do is I listen to Portuguese podcasts. I try to put on the radio wherever I am. Whenever I have the chance, I just let Portuguese into my life. I'm following Portuguese influencers on Instagram. I've got YouTubers that I follow. So that's really what I do. And the thing is that the beauty about it is that for most things that are not, well, the most important thing when you learn a language is not the vocab and not the grammar, as we might think it is. It's the rhythm of the language is also very important in Portugal. It's the accent, yeah, the way that people pronounce words, the intonation, etc. And all those things cannot be studied. They need to be heard. And your brain is just fantastic. It just picks up all those clues without you having to work for it. And so in the beginning, you're listening to podcasts and you just don't understand one word of it, but you're just letting it flow in. Don't stress about it, just let it come in. And then I do look up words whenever I, for example, hear that same word coming back 5 or 6 times in the same podcast.
Yes.
That's the one I look up because I really want to know what, this must be an important word. And then I just...
Push.
Yeah, push, for example. So then I can make that link again with other podcasts, etc., etc. And that's how I do it. It's just and then of course there's the fear of speaking. We've all, if you have no experience whatsoever, no basic, of course it's really good to have some basic vocab, like just ordering a beer and going in and saying hello and goodbye and all those things. And then it's a question of like getting past that fear of trying and seeing where it goes. One big takeaway that really helped for me, and also to connect with Portuguese people, because they might give the impression of not wanting to speak English, because most of them speak English. It's just they're afraid as you are. They're afraid of coming across as a stupid, because their English is, of course, not as good as yours is.
But it's so much better than our Portuguese, right?
It's still better than, yeah, indeed.
Absolutely.
But it's the same kind of fear, it's the same kind of inhibition. And what I did, and that's really a takeaway I can recommend to everyone, is in the beginning, I just learned one sentence by heart, and the sentence was very simply, excuse me, my Portuguese is not that good. Can we speak English, please? And just that one sentence, like they all went, okay, we'll try. And then the first reaction is always, my English is not very good, but it is, or it's sufficient for what you need them,
I'm so sorry I don't speak English very well. I wish I could speak it better, but I'll do my best.
Right.
It's like,
and they say that in English.
Yeah,
Indeed.
So true.
But it's just breaking the ice, isn't it? And it's very important that you do that, because they are offended when you come into a shop or wherever you are and you just start straight away in English. They are offended because they think, why aren't you trying? And it's just that one little sentence, and it breaks the ice, and it really helps. I don't need it anymore, that sentence. Sometimes I do need to say, listen, I do speak Portuguese, but stop rambling. It's too quick. Slow down. So I've learned that now. So I do have that problem now, because they all go, oh, you speak Portuguese, and then they go, oh.
Yes.
So that's my problem now, but it's a small problem. But they love it. Just the fact that you've tried and that you've learned that one sentence by heart.
And look at this. You've only been here a few minutes, and already everything you're saying is 100% right.
It is. Well, it's just my experience, and I've done this. I've taught people this for 20 years almost now. And I've done this. I've seen it work for others, and I'm really happy that this time I can show my clients that I'm trying it too, and it works for me too. So it really works. And there is a whole set of ideas and tools and things that I can that I could help with if you don't know how and where and when. But that's really the basics. That's, in short, how I do it. I don't take any lessons. I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I'm just saying that you can have lessons for years and still not be able to speak Portuguese.
Well said. Well said. And this.
And I just have to. I just have to say how validating that is for me personally, because everything you said is more or less the approach I've taken about listening and learning like a child would, reading children's books, watching children's programs, listening, trying to repeat, all those things. So it's like, yay, all right, I'm on the right track. I'm probably not doing it as intensively as you did, but it's for me personally, I take.
Yeah, it's as long as you make progress, as you're making progress. I made it like my mission, of course, as a language coach, teacher, with my background. I just wanted to be really quick, at picking it up, and I'm really, this is my thing, right? And I'm not going to live in a country.
You're testing your theory, aren't you? Which is great, and
Yeah,
you're
absolutely,
clearly
yeah.
getting good results. Victoria's in. Victoria Benson, hola, bon dia, kids from a chilly Portimao, and lots of other people as well who've snuck in this morning. Great to see you, Moaz. Good to see you here as well. What I do love about your theory, or the theory of, what was the name of the academic you referred to?
Stephen Krashen. Well, there's many that support his theory, of course, but the most, he's the most well known, and he's a polyglot himself.
Okay.
And he just, when you listen to any person that speaks 4, 5, 6, 20 people that speak 20 languages, so I'm not that special. They all say the same. It's about input. That's all you need. Well, that's the main thing, and that's the main thing that most people don't have.
Yes.
They think of following lessons. They think of doing studying grammar, or I don't know, trying to imitate the sounds or whatever, and they just don't think about the inputs. And it's just how a child learns.
Well, that's
it takes it takes us 2 years as a kid before we are able to reproduce a language. It takes us about a year and a half. Yeah, before we're able to
doing what you describe, as well as watching TV. Their life is like watching TV, isn't it? All of this is going on around them in what is to become their mother tongue, as you put it.
Absolutely.
And they are soaking it up, aren't they? They're soaking it up, and then it's a bit like walking. My eldest, he just got up. He was watching everyone walking, and got up and walked one day.
Of course,
and I think that's how it can be with language, right? With kids, it's like they just okay. Maybe to get what I want, I need to start doing what this lot are doing and make these same noises and be understood. And
that's the.
What a fantastic distinction, right? No, sorry, no, go ahead. You're a linguist.
No, but that's the other point that I always make, is that the affective filter is so important. Kids, I hear that, so we've all heard that, and maybe you've said it yourself, like, oh yeah, but kids, it's easy for them to learn a language.
Yes.
I'm too old or whatever. Those are all, they're just the sorts, and they are only partly true, because it is true that a kid's brain has more plasticity, etc. It is true, but kids learn differently. They don't study the language. They don't, when they're on the playground, they see an Asian boy or girl, or they see someone from Africa. They don't care. They don't see color. They don't see restrictions. They certainly don't see restrictions for themselves. They go to that girl or boy and they just start playing, and they're having fun, and they're communicating somehow. And we all wonder why and how. And we wonder why our kids, I've got a kid, as you know, who's in the Portuguese school here since 5 months now. And they all go, oh yeah, it must be easy because he's a kid. Yes, but it's because the approach is different. He's on the playground and he's got all those boys and girls around him, and he needs or wants to say something or to have fun or to know what everyone's laughing about. Yes. And that's the affective filter that you need. You need, like, to want to say that you're hungry as a baby, or to say that you're hurting, or ask for mum's attention or whatever. And all those things we don't use enough when we're learning a language in the classical way.
Yes.
So
we learn to self-judge, don't we? And what's so wonderful about what you're talking about to me is, like, I love to understand what's going on behind the scene. What's actually going on here? So what people tend to do is remember being at school rather than being a child, right?
Yeah.
And obviously those two things are connected. But when it comes to language, learning your mother tongue, wasn't really something you did at school, was it? And it wasn't
No,
it wasn't in an
at
environment
all.
of success or failure. It was
Mm.
in the world of the effective filter, as you put it,
Yeah,
and a gradual iteration and development rather than constantly judging myself. Am I doing this right or wrong?
indeed,
Am I good or bad
indeed.
at this? You just made incremental improvements day by day, didn't you, as a child?
You do. And it takes you lots of years as a child. I mean, a kid of 5, 6, even in his mother tongue, is constantly corrected by adults or at school. No, you don't say it that way. You say it that way. And it's not that. It's not that. So they still make mistakes after 5 or 6 years. And somehow, when we, as an adult, speak a foreign language, we have the idea that it has to be perfect or nothing at all. And that's just, it's stupid because that's not how it works, first of all. And and everyone's forgiving when, for example, a Portuguese person speaks English. We go, your English is really great.
Yeah.
Somehow we tend to think that our Portuguese needs to be better before we have the right to start or to try.
Yes.
And that's just not.
Yeah,
And
I think
it's all sorts of,
we have the advantage of being able to understand intellectually, so that can help us to remember things, but it's not going to acquire us a language. And the disadvantage is that we don't have the patience, we don't have that understanding that I just need to let the sound in. I get very frustrated because I want to know what's being said. So this sound coming at me is like, I can't take it, and so I get frustrated and impatient with it. And really the study that children are doing, because they are studying everything.
Yeah.
They're studying everything. They're just not doing it academically. They're not in a school, but they're just observing and learning and practicing. And that's studying. It's just not the way we understand it in school. So putting it in that perspective, 2 years to study to get to a point to have, sort of functional communication is a very reasonable goal.
It is.
Yeah.
And of course, in your case, if you intensify that, then you get it faster.
Yeah. And
you can bring those adult skills to it. Yeah.
For sure. The man you see on your screen here, James, who is our mindful migration man every Monday. I think you learn. I've seen how you have the joy of learning Portuguese, and it's like you've got surrogate Portuguese parents, James. You know how you get coached by is it Antonio mainly?
Antonio,
says,
Nuno, João, Luisa, Sidonio, all of them will provide me with feedback. Yes, I've invited them to. I've said, please always correct me. I will not be offended.
And I think it's a joy for them. I think they really appreciate you for saying that. And I think I've seen how you enjoy being corrected, because it is not a criticism, but a part of your appreciation and evolution as a Portuguese speaker.
One of my highest moments last week was I said something to somebody in the comments about Portuguese as I understood it. And Antonio came in with a comment, James is correct. And I just like, yes! Celebration.
Screenshot time. Look at this, Gene said, I knew something. And thank you everybody for your wonderful comments here that Anna has sparked off this morning. Thanks for being here to do that, Anna. I knew somebody whose kid took a long time to speak. And that's interesting, isn't it? Parents get really worried when their children don't speak. Is there something wrong? Yeah. Do I need to take them to a speech therapist? I knew somebody whose kid took a long time to speak. They were starting to wonder if something was wrong. Then one day he just came out with, Mom, can you pass me the potatoes, please? probably not in that voice.
Not in that voice, yeah.
And they all went, ah! But that's a great example, isn't it? We do things when we're ready, and children are very good at doing things when they're ready, and adults are really good at putting pressure on themselves and then kind of talking themselves out of things with their self-criticism and self-judgment.
But it's exactly that pressure that blocks your learning,
isn't it?
It's exactly that blocks your learning. And it's like James said, it's about showing childish curiosity towards almost childish. I'm not saying that James is childish, but I mean,
I am.
But it's just the fact of,
no question.
of going, I do that constantly. How do you say that? How do you say that? Como se diz? And they just, they like to learn. They like to teach you. They like to explain. Right. They want to tell you all about them, but you have to show the curiosity. And just,
Did you call it the effective filter? Is that the phrase, the key phrase, the effective filter?
It's absolutely, it's very important, and it blocks us all. We all have like those thoughts of not being good enough, and then especially when it gets confirmed, or we think it gets confirmed, once that we try to speak Portuguese or any language, and then the first reaction is come again. So, oh, they didn't understand us, so I'm not pronouncing it well, or I'm not doing it well, and then they stop because they get this reaction. Whereas just try again, slow down, be, or try to say it differently, or ask the question, how would you say that?
Very
It's
good.
just showing your interest in, and that's the other thing. It's not only about language; it's about culture.
Yes, well said.
You said, James, you said, James, that you have like people taking care of you, and it's that's the effect of it. It's not about the language. The language is just a means to an end, and the end goal is feeling part of the community and having Portuguese friends, or
Your friends in the
understanding what
sandbox when
Portuguese
you're a
are about.
child.
Well
Yeah.
said. Excellent stuff. Right, we're going to find out
The
how you're
people
going to
you're playing with, yes, just adults
It's
now.
True, it is, isn't it? It's just a different context, but it's the same
It
feelings,
is.
isn't it?
It
We will
is.
And by the
find out
way, we have a mutual agreement. They say the same to me. If I hear something in their English, please
Yeah.
help them. So it's a great
Of course.
exchange. It's wonderful.
It is. It is. We're going to find out how Anna is going to specifically do this in San Martino de Porto, but we've got to look at these lovely comments that are coming in that are resonating with what you're sharing with us this morning.
Yeah.
I tried to order a beer in Portuguese, but they replied in English. That happens. Many people, says Darren J, good morning to you, GMP VIP Darren. Many people said they can't speak English, but then we had full conversations. So true. I think few of us have been in that situation. Learning languages. Salvation Air Force, you have distinguished yourself this morning with your excellent comments and debut. Unless, of course, you are somebody else who we already know, but it's great to have you here. I find that having the TV on in the background is really useful. I usually start with hola, says Darren. You've got more to say on that, I think. The challenge is to understand what topic is being discussed, presented. And after that, you can effectively tune out and just absorb the dialogue to be mentally filed under sport or whatever. I think that's true. It's good to have a little bit of context, isn't it? And then let it wash over you. What I say to everybody who's afraid of speaking in other languages, avencemos sem medos. What is that? Is that go ahead without worrying too much about it there? Just get on with it. I noticed, or just do it. That is Nike in Portuguese, possibly. That's quite a big phrase to put on the side of a trainer, though, isn't it? I noticed that people say bon dia or dia instead of hola. Yes, it can be quite truncated, can't it? But yes, well spotted, Darren. You're obviously tuning in and listening. Darren J, starting with hola or bon dia, boa tarde is the best way to get a better answer to your questions. Yes, it is very important.
And it's polite. We learned recently that it's rude not to just start with the business. You always say hello first, right?
And not
say
just,
hello,
hey buddy,
then ask the question.
Dude. Yes, okay. Can you guess? Sorry, I missed the name.
Walk up to a stranger and say, how do I find the bus for? It's like, no, just say, bon dia. How do I find the bus for? It's pretty simple.
So this is Anna. We're talking to Fiona. You're putting the wee one on the school bus. Can you suggest one or two YouTubers to follow for absorbing the language more? So have you got some specific recommendations, Anna?
Well, the thing I always do with my clients is that I really look for topics, because that's also an answer to a previous comment. It does help if you know, and also if you've chosen the subject, things that I find interesting might not be interesting to you, or so I really try to look for specific people or topics that are in your interest field. And what that does indeed is, now that you have the context and also the effective filter, which is open because you want to know more about that subject, then you can indeed tune out. And just I always say that, just don't even try to listen if you don't want to. If you're tired, if you don't feel like it. I have days that I don't really feel like putting in the energy. I just have it on the background, but it just comes in because it's I'm interested in the subject. And for this, so a more general thing that I can absolutely recommend is a very easy one. It's Portuguese with Leo.
Okay.
He's got a
I've seen
YouTube.
him, yeah.
Yeah, he's got YouTube films. He's got a podcast on all podcast platforms. And I really enjoy listening to him because he's got a beautiful voice. He's a handsome man, that helps. But especially he talks about not only about language features, so he explains like the difference between certain verbs, or but also talks about history, which is history and culture of Portugal, which I like a lot. He has interviews with polyglots, with people who have learned the language, etc. So it's a more general, but it's a really good podcast. What you can do, and that's something that not many people think about doing, if you're listening to a YouTuber or a podcast in a foreign language, what I have done in the beginning is slow it down. You can slow down any
That's
film
good
fragment or whatever.
technology.
You can slow it down. And it really, okay, it changes the voice a little bit, and it's maybe not that, but it gives your brain the time to make the difference between the separate words, to recognize words as words and not like a long train of
String of
sounds that you can't
sounds.
distinguish. Yes, string of
You
sounds,
have
thanks.
to you have to
That you
allow more
can't
time
distinguish.
though.
Yeah, so
You
you
have to
just
allow
slow
more
down.
time.
Yeah,
Would be
yeah, yeah. But I just did that in the beginning, and only the first 2 months maybe. So first half speed, and then a bit
great
faster.
tip. That's a great
Yeah,
idea. A friend of
and it
mine,
really,
yeah, the wonderful lady who looks after alpacas up in the Aveiro region, Lisa. What an incredible experience it is to go out with her and her alpacas. But she was telling me that she used to listen to podcasts, and she was saying they all sound so fast to me. And then the benefit of that, of course, is you can get them all listened to in twice the time, maybe.
of
But
course,
she
yeah,
but she had got them on the wrong speed setting, which I adjusted for her. But of course, if you've got a half-hour podcast and you're listening to it on a slow setting, then allow more time. You're not going to be able to squeeze, or is it pitch adjusted? I don't know. And now, having said that, but yes, a great tip from Anna there to slow it
yeah,
down. And the wonderful podcast technology allows us to do that. That's wonderful. And if you're
awesome.
watching Portuguese with Leo, do have the sound up. It's not good enough just to look at a handsome man with a nice voice. You've got to actually hear it as well. He is saying something as well.
Yeah, yeah, and
With that.
it's worth listening. He's worth listening to. It's
All right.
really it's a really nice way to start.
All right, volume
Yeah,
up. I find children's books and shows work for me. That's a great tip as well, isn't it? That's about the
yeah.
level I am at. We all are, Gene, aren't we? That's a
Bing on YouTube.
you're a Bing fan. Okay, very good.
Hola,
Anna,
Bing.
it's James's favourite. Anna is right. That's got some slack too. Baby isn't worried about getting housing or her immigration status or cooking dinner. She's nothing
Indeed.
else to do but learn the language.
Yes.
Salvation Air Force. You can force shop assistants to teach you their language. Go into a shop. I want trousers, big, small, red, blue. No, sorry, I meant shirt. Long sleeve, no collar. How about shoes? I think you might also get thrown out the shop, but yes, I think that will get people coming to your assistance. That's a good tip. People think that going to a language school for a couple of hours a day is enough. You need. Well, it feels like you're doing something, and we're not criticizing language courses or schools.
Indeed.
But
Yeah, it's important. It's always better than doing nothing at all, of course. And it does help. Language courses can help, absolutely. And some people just need, because there's also this thing, I don't need to be motivated to, you know, I am motivated. It's my thing. Languages are my thing. And for some people, they just need to have to be there at 7 o'clock on a Monday night just to make sure that they do something for, the
yeah,
language.
definitely like
So
going to the gym. Like it's the equivalent
yeah,
of going
it's
to the
like,
gym, isn't it?
yeah, so
Exactly.
it can
Like
be.
working
I'm
out.
not,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't take any language courses, but I am saying that if it would help you a lot if you would indeed, as Moaz says, like the TV, songs, YouTube, podcasts, any input is input, and it can be as small as just, I don't know, like Instagram. They're just on my feed now. And the good thing about all those platforms is that the algorithm, once you have chosen one or two, the algorithm will give you new suggestions in that language. So now my Instagram is full of Portuguese people, not because I've looked for them, all of them. I've looked two or three, and now I've got new suggestions coming into my feed about subjects that I like and in Portuguese. So that really helps. And it's just those, stories are 30 seconds long. It's
Bite
that
size.
small, but it
Very good.
really, yeah, you just do it, while, I
Great.
don't know,
And
you've got
I'm finding
5
a great
minutes.
way to. Oops, I'm sorry. A great way to integrate this, as you've been saying, is
Mm,
getting out, being with Portuguese people, and then integrating watching and listening.
yeah,
And as you said, the context, if you know they're talking about, buying bread, then you have that context, and you watch the body language, you listen to the words, and
absolutely.
most of the words you're going to miss. But I've actually had Louisa ask me, did you know what they were saying? I said, no, I don't know what they're saying, but I know what they were talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well
They
said.
were talking about they wanted to make a copy on the copy machine. She said it was in the back room. They could do it on the computer, and then they could come pick it up. She said, wow, that was really good. I said, I understood about 4 words, but
Yeah.
the communication, the listening and the watching, I understood what had been communicated. And that's so
yeah,
important. Get out with people and watch and listen.
I've got a question, housekeeping here. It's 2 minutes past 10. Are you
yeah.
okay for about 5 or 10 minutes more, Anna, or should you have started a
Oh
language
no,
lesson with somebody?
no,
About
no. I've blocked my agenda for this
well
one.
done. Okay, so this is so interesting. Thank you very much, James. Are you okay too for a little bit longer?
Absolutely, yes.
Excellent stuff. And when learning in this way, of course, you're learning colloquial Portuguese often, aren't you? And it's the language that people are speaking every day. And I
Yeah,
would argue that if you want to learn grammar, adding grammar to that later is probably easier than sitting in a classroom learning cold, hard grammatical facts, right?
That's
it's the
what we did
same
in
as a
our
kid.
language acquisition.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
it's
You
the
learn.
same as children.
Yeah.
We've all had grammar lessons in our mother tongue,
Yeah.
but later on, not straight away. It's not the first. It's not the
That's the
priority.
building block is a
Think of it
colloquial.
like music. We listen to and learn music long before we learn to notate it and read it.
Can
We
you
can sing
imagine
Yeah.
a
it?
song by hearing it and repeating it. We don't have to
Mm,
study music to sing. We just have to hear and
yeah.
listen and copy.
Can you
Mm,
And
imagine
then if we
if
want to understand what's going on, then we learn the academic piece of, oh, here's what's happening. That's
what a
grammar.
world
That's
it
what
would be,
grammar
James,
is.
if it was the other way round and all children were brought up having to learn music theory before they could hear a song? What a
There'd be
cruel
no
world
music.
that would be
Yes, there'd
really
be no
cruel.
music.
Yeah.
I found my ear to be more attuned by
And
listening
the
to Portuguese.
evolution of it, the evolution of language and music was they all came first. And we figured out, we said, all right, we want to know what's going on. How do we break this down? But if we had
Yeah.
done that
Now we need
first,
the
we wouldn't
rules.
be speaking
Yeah.
or playing
Well said.
music. We just wouldn't be
Yes,
doing it.
yes, indeed.
True.
This is a really good idea, Bob, because whilst some of us are snoozing on the sofa in the afternoon, we can actually tell our partners and people who are bothered by such behaviour that we're actually learning Portuguese, which is perhaps what Bob does. No additional vocabulary, but hearing more sounds. Yes, could everyone be quiet? I just need to tune into some Portuguese for 10 minutes. Okay.
Well, this theory has been tested, and it was so the theory of that. I think it was in the 80s. People had the great idea, that you could just put on like a recording during the night, and that you would be able to speak the language, or that you would learn the language. It sounds ridiculous. It's not, in the sense that indeed that's because your brain picks up so much more unconsciously than you would think. And it's not, it's as I said, it's language, it's rhythm, it's intonation, etc., etc., but also words. We make links without realizing that we are making links. It happens to me a lot. I start speaking, I'm trying to start a conversation, and then I utter words that I didn't know I had, or something.
That's
So
great, isn't it?
yeah,
And
so
that
it's because I have the unconscious, I have something going on in my mind without realizing that I'm really studying,
I find that as
without
well.
really.
Yeah,
If
you're
I
Yeah,
not analyzing it when you're sleeping.
yeah,
It's just coming in, very much like a child again. You're just
I
listening. You're
find
yeah,
not
that
going, oh, how do you say that? Or, breaking it
yeah,
down. I could never
yeah.
do that. You don't have any of that mental commentary. Just
but don't you
No,
find
feeding
this?
it
If
in.
you listen to Earth, Wind and Fire on repeat, suddenly you can sing like Philip Bailey. all of it, it just comes out. It's amazing.
Never happened to
Or at
me,
least
but
close.
yeah.
Sounds like it to me. And here's a really good way of Portuguese Airbnb owners reframing their experience. If you end up in one of those Airbnbs and it's above a cafe that doesn't shut until 4 a.m, that you can say, look, I didn't sleep very well, but my Portuguese has really improved because those people outside the window are speaking Portuguese until 4 a.m. There you go. Put that on your advert.
Suddenly I know how to
I
order every kind of coffee I can.
I do need to make a comment on that because I don't want people losing their sleep over this. So the thing is, I wouldn't recommend doing it at night. Yeah, because that theory was in the 80s and it didn't come through because exactly you're not, your sleep at night has a different function. It doesn't have the function of learning, and you're not going to get the same quality of sleep when you have a Portuguese man or woman in your ear whispering. So it's not you can doze off on the sofa with
More effective.
a podcast. Yes, do that, absolutely, but don't do it at night because your brain at that moment needs to like process everything you've learned and seen that day, and it's not a good idea to
Thank you for
put
that.
new information into
You
your
have
brain.
saved a lot
Yeah.
of heartache for people.
Yeah.
I still see that you should get
It's maintenance time when you're asleep at night. Time for the body to maintain,
Of
tune
course,
up,
yeah.
oil,
But
and do all that.
but there is some sense in the idea that you just unconsciously learn a language. So that's absolutely true. Yeah.
Okay, I still say you should get a dog and speak to people on the street whilst walking the dog. And on that note, Salvation Air Force says you don't actually need a dog. You can just kick off with, "Can you clean that up, please?" I do meditation YouTube videos in French to help me go to sleep and learning the language. Yes, European Portuguese meditation videos. Calma, tranquilo.
Yeah.
Yes,
For
very good.
example.
I was fortunate enough to have learned high school English by the age of 5. Yes, you just soaked it up, Portuguese. But you probably had a nanny, Lord Gilchrist, as well, teaching you, and a private tutor. Translate that phrase. But I absolutely agree. I had to DeepL translate that phrase from João F there, but I absolutely agree. Yes, just do it in Portuguese. As João said there, I knew somebody whose kid. Oh, yes. Okay. We did that one, didn't we? But, this is what Anna was saying. Suddenly words will come out that you didn't know you'd learned possibly.
Yeah.
As well. What a lovely moment that would be. What do you say to this, Anna? My problem is that I'm a quitter. I study Portuguese for a month, then I stop for months, then go back to it for another month. That sort of self-talk's not helpful, is it?
No, it's not helpful. And you're not a quitter. You just haven't found the way that works for you. That's it. If you feel like you have to do, we people, we don't like to have to do things. We don't. It's not in our. It's against our nature, and that's where stress comes from. When we have the feeling that we have to too much.
Yes.
If you find something that you enjoy, then you will not have the feeling of having to do it, and you will continue doing it even after. Yeah. So it means that you haven't found the way that works for you.
Yes.
And simply reframing it from "I have to" "Why am I doing this in the first place?" and then choose to do it. There's freedom in it because now I no longer have to. I'm choosing to do it. That's why choice is so powerful. I choose to study today. I choose to listen to Portuguese. I choose to be interested in what I'm learning. And when I get bored, I'll turn it off and do something else. But I don't have to do this. I'm not being required to.
The thing is also that probably he or she, I don't know, hasn't felt like the results of being in that school and then coming out. And if you don't feel like this is, wow, and that feeling is really important. It's motivating. It's really important. I love it when people, I'm introduced to Portuguese by Portuguese, and they just go, "That's the one that speaks Portuguese." That's why, that's it. It makes you happy. It makes you happy because you feel like this is having the thing that I'm doing is really, this is the result. And if you don't have that feeling and you just go, "Oh, another night at that school and then learning about this and that," and you don't feel like you're doing a favor to yourself, because that's the way it should feel. It should feel like
Absolutely.
And the progress can be so incremental that you don't realize it. I say to my clients all the time, you can't watch your children grow. You look at a photo of them 6 months ago, and go, oh my goodness. And we don't see that in ourselves. We learn at little tiny increments. But if you measure where you're at now from where you started, you're miles ahead. So that can, if you can avoid the discouragement of quitting and look at where am I now to where I was when I started, then there's encouragement in that. At least it worked for me in that.
Moaz knows the answer. Talking about Leo here, you're not a quitter. You just need to find more handsome men doing Portuguese meditation, possibly.
But it does help.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, it's true though, isn't it? You will learn more doing it in a way that's enjoyable. And we've got wonderful Philomena here who joins us once a month for Philomena Friday. Was here last Friday, and it's fun learning Portuguese with Philomena. That's why people love you so much, Philomena, as well. So you find ways that you enjoy. I mean, there are a few of us, I suppose, who do like being hard and harsh on ourselves, and they maybe get a joy out of that. So it's a strange kind of masochistic learning method. But generally speaking, we learn more, don't we, when we're open and light and receptive than we do when we're sat in it. I mean, you know what school's like, everybody. I mean, we tended not to soak too much up in those environments.
Children learn when they play. Exactly. They learn best when they're playing.
So talking of which, days in the bay. It's 12 minutes past 10. Come on, guys. We need to get you back, Anna, I think.
Talking too much.
No, not at all. We just, the clock is beating us this morning.
I love talking about language.
So what can people expect if they come and join you? It's like days in the bay. And as James was saying, this is play in the bay, right? Have a playful time learning the language.
Yeah, that's the idea. The idea is it's not only about the language, it's also it's culture, because it's really important. As I said, language is only a means to an end. It's not the end goal. But yes, we would look into the ways of learning that language. We would go straight away into the real world, meeting Portuguese people, talking about differences, talking about things that we think about each other. What do the Portuguese think of expats? What do they expect? What are their fears and their and then the other way around, of course. We would look, and we would also do it while having fun. It's very important to enjoy those days. So we would, for example, learn to cook Portuguese dishes together with Portuguese people, learn how you say those things and how we would try to do that in Portuguese as much as possible. Go into shops, talk to the locals, listen to Portuguese music, learn about their history also, because it's really important. Portuguese are really proud of their history, and many things. The way that they think and act is absolutely linked to their history. So it might be very interesting also for the expats to know a bit more about that. And the idea is that at the end of that day, I'm hoping that if this kicks off, we can do like a full immersion midweek from Monday to Friday somewhere.
Oh my goodness. Great.
Yes, I would love. I would love. It's very, very ambitious, but I would love to do that, because then we would really be able to, at the end of that week, say, "Listen, I'm armed now. I know how to do it." And be ready to go into the in the real world in Portugal, and have the feeling of being part of the community instead of
how about that?
Standing outside of it. Yeah.
For those of you watching this who are coming to Portugal, I imagine people are thinking, yeah, I'd factor that in. That'll be part of a scouting trip, or even when I first get to Portugal, a few days in the bay with Anna, and let's do that. If you want to learn Portuguese, listen to Portuguese every day. Our esteemed and dear Professor Pascal there speaking to us. Absolutely right, Philomena. Looking forward to talking to you again soon. Catch that show on Catch Up on our YouTube channel from last Friday. Anna, you're being asked to come back, and I would reiterate this myself, and certainly support this sentiment from Sue's listening in Vancouver this morning. You're a welcome addition. Hope you come back. Will you come back and join us again?
Yes, I'd love to. Yeah, love to.
Sorry to put you on the spot like that, but you've said it now, so we will. No, I hated it. So yes,
No, I enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for being here this morning, James. Before we go, and I
Thank
think
you
we'll
for
do a few
having
dad
me.
jokes, because dad jokes, humor, Portuguese people, great sense of humor. That's another
Yes,
great way of learning, is it not? We'll do a few dad
absolutely.
jokes which are universal. James, any more reflections from you as the mainstay of Mindful Migration Monday?
I just want to say what a joy it's been being here today, sharing the screen with Anna. I love any conversation I can have around language, and learning the language of Portuguese is always fun for me. So thank you for being here.
Oh,
I
Thank
really
you.
enjoyed it.
Thank you.
okay. So those
Thanks to
dad
both of
jokes
you.
then. Let's see if these work in Belgian, in American, in English, and Portuguese. I really don't mind getting older, but my body is taking it badly. That's a kind of Coach Turner tip, really, isn't it?
Oh,
Rather,
so that.
that's not funny.
That's supposed to be a dad joke.
If my kids knew there was a light in the oven, they'd leave that one on too. That's a proper
That's a
dad
good one.
joke. Yeah,
Mhm.
that translates across the world, I'm sure. I thought I won the argument with my wife. Going back to those body cams, and apparently there was a Black Mirror episode of that kind. I thought I won the argument with my wife as to how to arrange the dining room furniture, but when I got home, the tables
The
were
tables were
turned.
turned. Yeah.
Ooh, no, not that one. That one. Yes. Oh, James, you had one for us as well, didn't you? You had a nice
Another
visual.
visual one. Yes.
Go on. So you don't have to send me a message later on saying you didn't show my dad joke. What is this? Go on, James. You can do this.
I still remember what my grandfather said the night before he kicked the bucket. What was it, sir? He said, "How far do you think I can kick this bucket?"
Yikes. Okay, we should end there, really. This episode is kicking the bucket now, but we'll be back tomorrow. Our Portugal Business Club kicks off tomorrow night at 9:00 as well. Migration Tuesday has moved from Tuesday to Thursday this week. Bear that in mind for your diaries. James, thank you so much for being here. See you again next
My pleasure always. Yes.
Anna, perhaps we can invite you to a monthly residency. You've been amazing this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. My pleasure.
All right. And all those wonderful videos and pictures that were sent in that we simply haven't got time for, because it's now 18 minutes past 10. We'll carry those over for the rest of the week. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, James. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody who tuned in this morning. And welcome to the Salvation Air Force. What a great debut. We hope to see you again tomorrow, and all the other new names. Bye for now. Ciao, ciao. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
In Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP.
Good morning, Portugal, and I'd like to welcome you to another fantastic day.
Hey, Gumpers.